There it goes, Jeremy.
Welcome back. It is the Hit Factor podcast. It has been a moment since Jeff and I have been on here. And there's really no excuse. There's really just no excuse. I mean, Jeff's the excuse, but there's really no other excuse beyond that. And what I will say is, if you guys didn't tune in to the most recent podcast, which Potato and Jay and one Mr. Tyler Turner came in and filled in, because they did that purely on their own, which was great. I loved it, and because they just felt bad for the listening and viewing audience.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, man, we got to get some content out, and probably some of the best content of the year, quite frankly. If we're just going to be honest, some of the best content we've had all year. So they did a great job. I do have to say, I do have one critique. The profusive praise of my artistic abilities was maybe a little over the top at the start of it.
That was rough.
Yeah, I appreciated that Jay. You could kind of audibly hear Jay cringing as it was happening. Like he really wanted to get some digs in there.
This doesn't feel
and
right.
So, yeah, and I appreciated that. I appreciated Jay's perspective on that. But yeah. I will say thank you to everyone who made me sound cool.
Man,
but
it was something.
That we probably won't experience that again tonight, so that's good. But so we are, like, it has been a long time since we've recorded, and so there's a little bit of, okay, what's going on with the Hit Factor podcast? We're going to talk about that. Like, what is the future for the podcast entail? What does that look like? We shot our last qualifying match, Jeff's and I's last qualifying match for the 2025 World Shoot. We both qualified for a team slot if we so choose that. So I'm sure we'll talk about that nationals and then the World Shoot qualification for us. And then just like what's happened in 6 months since we haven't recorded a podcast. Pretty much.
Yeah.
So
essentially,
Jeff, what do you got? What do you have to add? Anything else that we need to get into tonight?
We should talk about at least like nationals a little bit, even though it was like a long time ago.
Yeah, we can get into a little bit of that.
I mean, it was a interesting match experience for me. I didn't really like it, so I wouldn't mind. I didn't mind talking about that for a minute. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, so let's get into nationals then. So it was what I would call Iron Sight Nationals, and then they added a limited optics, and which turned it into basically a limited optics match, and a few people shot the Iron Sight divisions. Outside of that, Joey Sauerland won limited. So his first nationals, good for him. I'm sure he'll probably have some more. And
for sure,
Scott Brown second, and not winning is never good, but I almost wonder if this was good for Scott, because he was really close, and he did some, just because I talked to him after the match, and I don't know if I told him this exactly directly, but he did some bozo things. He did some stuff like you expect a 19-year-old, 19, 20, I think he's 19, like a 19-year-old to do, and it kind of cost him the match. So it may be really good for him in the future. He does have an open gun. He's posted a few videos with an open gun, so it'll be really fascinating, like his just raw speed. If the open gun doesn't just make him totally uncomfortable shooting it, it'll be kind of fascinating to see what he can do with an open gun. So but Joey won, so congrats to Joey. JJ, the guys already talked about it last week, but JJ, maybe performance of the year. Like so far from what we've seen, like JJ just had just an incredible match. And I spoke with JJ a little bit afterwards, and it was funny. I had my previous conversation. I showed some of it to Jeff. Like the conversation right before this, I'd had some uncomfortable conversations. I was kind of JJ kind of, we had a little bit of back and forth, and where I was kind of calling him out for stuff, and I went back and congratulated him and told him, great match. And I think he's actually grown a lot as like his focus and it, he's found some stuff that he kind of said, like, man, a couple of weeks before nationals, he's like, man, I found something in practice that his dad's been his coach. I think his dad's not like a super active coach at this point, but has been his coach his whole life. So he's like, Dad, check this out. Is this crazy? And his dad's like, well, it seems to be working. And I could be telling the story wrong, but this is my understanding. And then it seemed it stuck. Like whatever that fix and that change was, it stuck. And he was able to build a lot of confidence going into nationals, and it held up under nationals pressure. And so that's cool. I'm always a fan whenever elite shooters like shoot at their elite level. That's always great to see and fun to watch. And he certainly did it at that match. John Vlieger won single stack, and man, the guy shot he just shot a really solid match. He never did anything where you're like, oh, how does he do that? That's him. I don't know how you possibly do that. But like in the first 2 days, he purposely like planned going to 9 like 3 or 4 times with steel. Obviously with 9 you have to have steel, but with a lot of times multiple pieces of steel, and executed it, pulled it off every single time. Like whenever he planned that, he never went to a slide lock load that I'm recalling. And there were places where I was looking for ways to not go to 9 purposely. And he pulled it off. So he did, man, he shot a great match. Dave, that was actually the first time that I actually got to shoot with Dave. And
yeah,
it was just a wonderful experience for me. He just seems like just one of the genuinely nicest guys in the world. Some of the best fundamental shootings in the world. His first stage of day 3, the last day, he and Vlieger were really, really close. I don't remember the exact point margin. And our first stage was one of the shorter stages of the match. 10 rounds actually had an advantage there. He was only doing 1 load on a really small stage. Everybody else shooting major had to do 2 loads. And he just skipped a target that was staring him straight in the face in the last position. And he finished shooting and unload and show clear, and like is thinking, hey, I shot a good stage, I shot good points. And about 30 seconds later, you see the realization, like he looks up and he's like, did I shoot that target? He's like, he didn't. And he said he walked that. This is our third day of the match. He had walked the whole match before the match started. He said, I saw that target then, but I never saw it. I just never counted it and never saw it in any walkthrough since the day before the match. Man, he's one of the greatest shooters the sport's ever seen, and he made a really rookie mistake, and there wasn't enough points left in that day to cover those 40 points. And John didn't give him a chance to, honestly.
No,
John didn't give him any windows.
No, John shot really well. Really well.
Yeah. And Christian won limited optics. Jacob second. It was a good race. I honestly wasn't watching it that closely because I was in my own match, so I wasn't just watching the race. So I don't know how much back and forth there really was. But
it was ruined by the scheduling, and it was ruined by the fact that when Christian finished shooting first, when Jacob had 1 stage left to go, it was the fixed time. And he was 6 points back. If if he scored all the available points on the fixed time. So
Right.
he has an entire stage left to shoot, and all he can do is determine how much he loses by.
Right.
And that, to me, is one more argument against fixed time, or at least fixed times that are achievable in matches. Right. Because let's say it's not an achievable fixed time, like it's the one you guys had last year. Well, okay, you're down 6 points. Well, now's your chance to really hero it, right?
Yeah.
And so then maybe somebody does. But this one, that Seiler shot clean. Like, he got all 100 points on the stage. Jacob, if I don't know how close he was paying attention to scores, but I'm sure he knew when he walked onto that stage. It's like, well, nothing I can do here. I've got to shoot the stage well, but it's not. I can't win.
Yeah.
And that, to me, bugs me. Like, conceptually, it bothers me that you can be that close and then your fate's not in your own hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that's a great point on that. And that was, I do remember seeing that. It's like, oh, well, that's a bummer. And yeah, I was able to shoot everything with a single stack gun. It was our first stage of the match. I engaged every target. I hit a no shoot, so it kind of tanked my score, but I was able to engage every single target with a single stack and reloads. So yeah, if they're going to do a fixed time, which fixed times can be cool, but you almost need to have more targets than are actually achievable to, or if achievable, it's like you're having to just throw shots to get all the shots on, and it's a matter of engage more targets or grab more points. And so yeah, it's a fair criticism. So
yeah.
So Jeff, you wanted to talk about your match, your nationals. What did you think?
Well, it was interesting because I went into the match with this attitude that I just wanted to go shoot and have fun, like just go shoot for fun, right? So I didn't train up, didn't dry fire. I went and shot with Jeremy like a week and a half, 2 weeks before nationals, right? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And I was obviously unprepared, tore up my hands real bad. And then I went and shot, and I was like, yeah, like I know I'm not gonna win this thing. I'm just gonna have fun. And that sucked, dude. like going and doing that and being unprepared and knowing, because there was a couple times where I was like, I don't like this. I'm actually gonna try hard. And the gas just wasn't there because I hadn't been training. Like my eyes weren't working as fast as they should have been. I couldn't get the gun to settle as fast as it needed to settle. Couldn't control the gun. Couldn't pull a trigger to save my life. Yeah, it just wasn't there. And I couldn't just have fun, and it sucked. It all sucked, dude. Like when I was done, I was like, I don't really want to ever do that again. Like, I'm not just gonna go shoot a match like that and not prepare for it. At least some, like it not at least like have been dry firing every day, because I hadn't even been doing that going into this match. Which for me, going to that match now and seeing like how much lagging my fine motor skills were, it kind of was a light bulb for me, like how much of an effect dry fire does have for me in my ability to put the gun where I want it, to move it around, for my eyes to work, trigger pressing, all of that stuff. So it did reveal some things to me that were very good, because you kind of always wonder when you're training, like, is this doing any good? Am I making any ground on this? Like, is this making me any better? So a good indicator is like, if you stop doing all that stuff and you get a lot worse, it's like, hey, maybe I was going in the right direction. So I at least did learn something, but it did suck, and I don't really want to do that again. But
yeah, there's something different about going to like a Western States single stack match, and you're not prepared. and nobody's not prepared, and it's a
Right.
relaxed environment. Like most people,
Yeah.
like we're laughing at each other through most of the stuff.
Yeah. And like you said, nobody's prepared really for that match.
It's
Yeah.
February, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
90% of the country is not training in January.
Yep.
Even the people in warm places. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but whenever you're at a match where a lot of people care a lot about it, like that tends to make that ratchets you up. You want to care too, and it's a lot
Yeah.
harder to just, oh, that person's trying to win a nationals, and I'm over here just kind of jacking around.
Well, that was
not being able to do things you know you can do was not in fact fun. Is that what you learned,
right.
Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was very strange. Like for the first time I shot a match, or I say for the first time in a long time, I shot a match, and it didn't matter if I shot the stage really well, like, and everything went perfect. It still was not on par with the guys that were beating me. And normally that's not the case. Like if I ace a stage, it's going to be right there, and someone's going to have an awesome run to beat it, or it's going to be a stage win. And that wasn't the case at this match. At this match, it was like it didn't matter. It didn't matter what I did. It was like I was like considerably slower on a lot of stages, and yeah, it was not fun to see that result. So, lesson learned.
I mean, day 2 made things fun though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Then shooting.
Swimming.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Oh
and then
man.
dude, the last stage of, I think I actually shot pretty good on day 2. Like comparatively, like day 2 was okay for me.
Yeah.
Or everybody else got dragged down to your level in the rain.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last stage, I was like, okay, it stopped raining. I was just shooting wet hands, like nothing on them. That's what I was shooting with. And I was like, last stage, I was like, okay, I'm going to use some rosin powder on this one. It stopped raining. I think I've got my hands dry enough. I can do this. So I powdered them up real good, dude, with rosin powder, which is what I normally use. And I got up there, and like right before I was supposed to start making ready, it started raining again. And so like I went to load the gun, and it just turned to mud on the magazines and the gun. And yeah, so I shot basically that whole stage stripping mags because none of them would come out of the gun. It was so bad, dude. But yeah, just a massive rookie mistake there. Yeah, it was stupid. If I'd shot wet hands all day. What was one more stage of shooting wet hands?
Right. Yeah. No, day 2 was crazy. So people that don't know, like we were basically shooting in the wet part of a hurricane that had moved up the country. Obviously, we didn't have all the wind, and we weren't experiencing hurricane like Florida is currently.
It was just straight down rain all day.
But it was just a heavy rain all day. Not as cold as Ohio, but as miserable as Ohio was the year before. But yeah, like so, normally a make ready routine is like you're the next up shooter, and so you're out there like doing a walkthrough again on the stage. That I never did that. It was I am staying under. I walk the stage with everybody at the beginning, and then whenever I'm on deck, I get under where I'm dry, and I take my wet my rain jacket off, and then I'm just staying so I can stay as dry as possible until basically the moment that they go say make ready, and then it's go out, load the gun. Maybe I kind of like visualize the first array, not even the whole stage, because I don't want to stand there that long in the rain, and then shoot. Just trying to manage. I don't want my hands to get any more wet than they have to at this point. And yeah, there's no pro grip. There's no nothing when it's raining that hard. There's no nothing. You just shoot wet.
Yeah,
in bag targets.
By like I think it was like the last 2 stages, like Like there was no more. I didn't put a jacket, poncho on, nothing. Like I was completely soaked at that point. So it's just, all right, we're just shooting soaked. But
I will say, I think the guys that I wouldn't have thought this. The guys that fared the best were the guys that just had a big umbrella, no jacket.
yeah,
They didn't wear a jacket, but they just had a big umbrella, and they probably ended up staying the driest of anybody.
Yeah, like Poggi, he didn't even look wet. Like we were dripping wet. He didn't even look wet.
Yeah. So maybe
the secret
an umbrella.
is big umbrella and don't paste.
There you go.
Yeah. The pasting.
Maybe next
Did
time,
they at least have the 6 millimeter thick bags?
Yeah, they had like the bags that were form fitting.
Yeah. The 6 millimeter thick bags, you can zip them up and down. You're not doing the thing where you're,
it's not as bad.
Reaching through cellophane trying to put a wet paster on a gaping hole.
But dude, it took so long. Like the shooting, like we were 2 hours or maybe 2.5 hours in and just finishing our second stage. And I think I looked at Jeff or something. I was like, dude, we have 3 more bays to go. Like it feels like we
suddenly 5.56 didn't seem like such a ripoff.
It felt like we had already shot a full half day of shooting. And it was like, we're not even halfway through this thing yet. So yeah, I mean that's just is what it is. The weather's what is what it is. You can't do anything about it. The other schedule had it much better. We had a couple people in our house that were on the opposite schedule, and they're like, they put bags on for us once, but then they took it off because it stopped raining, so we didn't have to shoot bags. We saw targets with bags on them, but we didn't actually shoot any bag targets. It's like, oh, well, that's cool.
Dude, I've never shot so much in the rain. That was wild to shoot that much in the rain.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I will say, like the range surface didn't we weren't shooting through too many mud puddles.
Yeah.
We didn't have like huge, like it wasn't like we were losing mags in 3 inches of water. It wasn't that. There were some places where you had some small puzzles that you splashed through, but at least the range surface was rock and it wasn't dirt for the most part. So that was
the bays held up. They held up pretty good. They did. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, my nationals was not that dissimilar from Jeff's. I mean, I was a little bit more prepared, but not a whole lot. And hadn't shot a match since Kentucky, so that was June when this nationals was in September. And honestly, like day 1 and 2, I wasn't shooting bad. I just couldn't get through a stage without a mistake on it. And I know that sounds it sounds like you were shooting bad, but it was just like I would have a good stage and then, oh crap, there's a mic. And it's just like I racked up like 7 penalties in the first 2 days, and then went to war on a piece of steel a couple of times. It's like I'm not shooting that bad, but I just can't score well. And
that's a real thing. You can shoot a stage really well, like not just not bad, but really well. And then like 3 targets from the end, like you transition to a partial, and for whatever reason, your wrist just does this once. Yeah. And it's like you tag the no-shoot. And it's like everything up to that was great, and everything after that's fine, and you just gave up 10 points.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happened. Yep. But it wasn't like you were over-transitioning or missing your foot spots or not loading well or, not able to string things together.
Yep. And day 3, it was almost kind of like, okay, well, now I've got 2 matches into me in day 3. And, you guys were talking about a lot in the last podcast. If people hadn't listened to it, again, go listen to the one with Jay and Tyler and Potato, kind of about like shooting free and just kind of letting things go. I mean, day 3, I was able to just kind of let things go more, shoot a lot freer, and my scores were drastically better day 3.
You shot really good day 3, I thought.
Yeah, it was good, and that was what I was hoping for the whole match. And honestly, all I can say is my shooting this year has been really, like, I've seen a lot of really good progress in my shooting. I haven't shot enough matches to be able to like express that in matches well.
Right, to like burn it in really well.
Yeah, because there is this fine level of shooting free and then shooting reckless, or then also going the other direction and shooting just too safe, too conservative. And when I do that, when I shoot too safe, I make more mistakes.
Yeah.
And so it's yeah, day 3 I was able to kind of let loose after a little bit. And the lesson that I seem to learn, and well, I never learn, the lesson that seems to get beat over my head oftentimes, sometimes it's really better for me to just rip the Band-Aid off on the first stage. Jay's been talking, he was talking about this in the last podcast about how he does it in practice. He tries to make his first run his fastest run, right? Sometimes I think it would be better for me to just rip the Band-Aid off first stage and just go full tilt and just get in that mindset of hey, I'm going to shoot aggressive. And if there's penalties, there's penalties. So what? But it's sometimes if I start conservative, it's like I never get the truck in gear. Like it just never gets going. Because it's like you start conservative and you have a penalty or something on top of that makes you want to slow back down, right? Okay.
It's like I gave up a little bit, or I gave up a lot. Now I have to be even more protective of not giving up anything more. And it's like, well, you got to go and win things too.
Yep.
So, and I like your point about sort of 3 matches, like when you've shot 4 matches prior to that in 24.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you doubled your match count like by going to nationals in a real way. So on day 3, you're going to have like a little bit of that fluidity that you get at matches where your behavior and your skill are in alignment. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know what the optimum number of matches is, and I'm pretty sure it's variable by person.
Right.
But I know it's a lot higher than what you guys shot this year. Yeah. I just don't think there's people, regardless of the sort of skill levels they have, who can go and express that without the sort of crucible of matches.
Yeah,
I don't think you can show up to 1 match a year and do the things you can do.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Dave Savigny, right? Like, all due respect to John, Dave was the best shooter that was shooting a single stack gun at that match. Like, he has the highest skill set. He has the most accolades. He has the most experience, all of that. But Dave shot 1 match coming into this. As far as I know, maybe some locals, but I think he shot Area 6, right? That was it. And hadn't shot a Nationals since in 2 years. I think it was 2 years ago that he shot a Nationals. And you saw that hurt him. Like he skipped a target. Dave probably hasn't done that in a match in 15 years. But he made a very, very, very rookie mistake. And it certainly cost him a chance to push on day 3. I don't know if it cost him the match, but it certainly cost him a chance of being able to put pressure. And yeah, even the best need match experience, because it's just different whenever it's in a match. So
yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Big shout out. I got to give a big shout out to Bob Crow, finishing 3rd in limited. That also secured him a spot for the standard world shoot team. So working man's champ. He's an animal. And
he is.
Yeah, he's a beast. So good on him.
And now he can shoot his open gun without a care in the world until sometime midway through next year.
Yep. I talked to him tonight. He's leaving Thursday for Open Nationals, and yeah, he's looking forward to it. So, and Open's are really not a natural fit for him, but he's really enjoying messing around with it. I told the advice I gave him, because he's so freaking good with a limited gun. like you compare his scores to a open shooter, like a person that's winning open in a match with him shooting a limited gun. And it's like, man, if you will just shoot your open gun and let the fact that it's an open gun, the dot, the capacity, the compensator, let that be what makes you faster and make you better, rather than like thinking, oh, I'm shooting open gun, now I need to do everything so much faster and do all this. It's like, man, if you'll just let the gun be what makes you faster, you're going to make he'll make a massive jump with it. He's like me. He gets tense when he tries to go fast, and he'll start trigger freezing and doing all sorts of stuff. Anybody that's watched Bob, it's funny when Bob trigger freezes and stuff like that, because he talks to himself really loudly on the stage, and it's hilarious. But you can see him when he picks up an open gun. You can see him. It's almost this mental process. I have an open gun now. Now I should
be fast.
I should be splitting really fast. I should be going really fast. I got to keep up with all these kids that are really fast. And it's like, man, just let the gun be what makes you fast, not you trying to be fast.
Yeah. And Bob has shot a lot of matches this year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many he
tons
shot,
of matches,
but it's a lot.
It's like 15 or so, because he shot. I mean, after limited nationals, he went and shot Red Rock Rumble. He went and shot Area 4 2 weekends ago. He just finished shooting the New Mexico sectional this current weekend, which he won that. And did he win? Yeah, he won that. And then he's leaving Thursday to go to nationals. So now he hasn't. I think he's practiced, like, he's only been to a practice range like twice in that time frame probably. But yeah, I think he's skewed a little bit too much towards matches, but he works oil fields, and his work is such that, like, if he's in town, it's hard for him to get away to go practice. But if he's gone for a match, he can just schedule, hey, I'm gone, I'm out of town, so I can't go to work right now. Now he has to field. I think at Area 4, he said he fielded he shot that all one day. He fielded 21 calls during that match. It was like he shot an all-day match. He fielded 21 work calls during that match.
Jeez.
So I mean, yeah, he's trying hard, and he's very busy with work, and I'm sure he appreciates me telling the world about his work life and stuff, but he doesn't care. But I think he's skewed too heavy to shooting matches, but he feels that's what he needs to do to prepare more matches than training. He feels like that's what he needs to do. So that's what he did. And
I mean, if you got enough matches in there, then probably work just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what Nils does, right? Just like shoots matches all the time.
Yeah, I mean he shoots like 25 matches in a year, right? I mean, he shoots not USPSA. He didn't shoot 25 USPSA matches, but you put all of his matches together, and it's like 25 plus, I think. So I think Nils is a guy that shoots more matches than he does any practice. So,
and just speaking of Nils, I know we don't talk about it much on here, but I kind of feel obligated to. There is obviously Open Nationals for USPSAs this week. And the end of the year is PCSL 2-gun. And why I'm saying that is I really, really want to see. So you'll have like the old school 3-gunners who are really good. You'll have AJ Anthony, right? Who won last year and is probably the favorite to win again this year. But Mason is shooting that, and Nils is shooting that.
Oh, interesting.
And I think they're going to do really well, and they're going to hurt 3-gunner feelings. I know Nils has shot a lot of that, but it's 2-gun. It's carbine and pistol.
So it's a
hit
rifle.
Factor, but it's a hit factor match.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's not time plus, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing the results from that, because
it's PCSL Nationals, but it's a hit factor match.
Yeah, well, I mean it's points per second, right? It's not time plus. So unlike a lot of the 3-gunners who
Right.
anywhere 2 on papers, you've neutralized the target, you just don't have a time penalty. So my theory, which I have no evidence for, my theory is that people who are very good at hit factor will be very good at hit factor regardless of the format. And that it rewards different skills than time pass does.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And I mean, that's somewhat intriguing as a future match, because I've always said, man, if 3-gun had been 2-gun, if it had been rifle and pistol from the get-go, I think it would have been just as popular, and I think it would still be very, very popular.
Yeah, I mean, people want to shoot a 5.56 gun. They do in a match. It's fun. And people don't want to shoot a shotgun in a match.
Right.
Unless they're into that. And there are people who are really into that, but I'm not one of them.
Right. There's not many. And who wants to pay for slugs and all that? I mean, just, and practice quad loading, which has zero practical use, in my opinion. But
hey, not like my carry gun. The Shadow Shadow 2.
Right.
48 ounces.
Hey, you can be carrying you could be carrying a CZ Rammy or something like that.
I basically have a PO7. That's a Sphinx STP. It's the same thing. It's a little 30 ounce double single.
Yeah, there's some good crossover there. So that's nationals. So like I said, that ended up with Jeff and I qualifying for the classic World Shoot team, which the 4 current people that have qualified, Jeff, myself, Tim Herron, and Jay Leese, actually ended up jumping ahead of, man, Jay Leese shot, look, she beat me at this match. She shot a heck of a nationals this year and ended up leapfrogging both John McClain and Paul Clark Jr. for the 4th spot for the classic team. So look, she's an incredible shooter. I mean, bar none. There's a lot to learn watching her shoot from like an aggressive, like shooting aggressively. There's a lot to learn just watching her from that standpoint, because she does shoot very aggressively and shoots very, very well. So,
dude, her entries are excellent.
Yeah.
Like she lands shooting.
Yep.
Like in terms of target availability, there is not the sort of like, let me set myself and then start railing on things. It's like target availability, the gun's going off. It's so much fun to see.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. So
are you guys going to take it? I know you guys don't want to answer this question, so I'm going to ask it. Are you guys taking your team slots at this point? Like if you had to choose today?
I mean, so this is a great discussion, and this, man, it kind of, it feeds into like, where's the podcast going in the future? Like it feeds into all of it. And I'm going to answer your question, but it's going to be a long form answer. Surprising no one. To do a short answer first, if it was today, if I was making that decision today, no. Like if I had to make that decision today, the answer is no. It's freaking South Africa. Like it's a country that is in constant civil war. And
did you not see Aaron Eden's cool picture of the zebra he shot?
Yeah, well, and honestly, like the videos that he was posting also made me not excited, because the stages looked really bland and they looked really just close. I mean, they were throwing up some like 13 hit factor, like a lot of 10 hit factor, like super high hit factor stages. I know open's going to be higher, but if it's a 13 hit factor, you've crammed a lot of targets into a small area. And if that's what the World Shoot's going to be, I don't know that I want to invest a year plus the expense of going to South Africa and the risk of going to South Africa. I don't want to overblow that, but I also don't want to say it's nothing to go shoot really bland hoser stages. So that's my short answer. Did we lose Potato? I guess we lost Potato. I don't see him anymore.
He might have just turned his camera off. I don't really know.
His mic's off. But so there's I've been thinking about this a lot since Alabama, because I think my experience, Jeff, with Alabama was somewhat similar in it. It wasn't the best trip in the world, and that's not like we had a great house, great people in the house, and lots of fun with that. And U92 drove us there, pretty much drove us the whole way. He wouldn't let me drive. I don't know what was up with that, but
sounds familiar.
Yeah, sounds familiar. But there is an intrinsic value add in my life to going and shooting matches and doing this stuff. Like, there is just an intrinsic value that is just like it's a big positive. But there comes a point when there's a dollar sign that, like, at some point you have to you can't just blindly say this intrinsic value, I can't get more value using this money or time somewhere else. And so that's a little bit where I'm at with South Africa. Man, some of my best friends are going to be in South Africa. I haven't heard yet if Jeff goes. I have a feeling if I go, then Jeff is going to be a lot more likely to want to go. If I don't go, then he's going to be less likely to want to go. And that sounded really arrogant. I didn't mean that to sound. That sounded bad. Anyway, I didn't mean that to sound bad, but like I have some really good friends that are going to be there, and shooting a world shoot is a really, really cool experience. Like, if I'm not there, I'll be watching scores and I'll be looking at that, and I'm going to be very jealous of the people who are there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be cool. I didn't feel that way with Thailand so much because it was such a dumpster fire. But if the world shoot was anywhere besides South Africa, like anywhere cool, like any, like, basically first world country, then I would be like, yeah, let's go. And I'll take the wife, and the kids can go stay with grandparents or something for the time, and it'll be a ton of fun, and it's going to be awesome. That's not the case with this. And so I am in a place where I'm trying to weigh what is the intrinsic value of going on this trip versus the cost to go. Because it's going to cost a lot to get there. You're going to lose basically 2 weeks because it's 8 days. The match is going to take up 8 days. You're going to have travel on that, both sides of that. It's basically 2 weeks that you're going to lose. And as we've talked about earlier tonight, if I'm going, I have to train more. Like, I have to shoot at least 8 matches next year. I have to shoot more local matches, and I have to shoot more rounds.
You don't want to just go and have fun like Jeff?
No, that's not a.
No,
that's
really
for $6,000 or $7,000 and 2 weeks of lost work and time away from the family. That wouldn't be fun for you to go and have a middling match and like lose to a bunch of people you've never heard their names of, who you could beat if you were prepared.
Yeah, the time, really, like, the time and money commitment of the actual trip is only like, well, it's probably not even half the time commitment like that I would have to put for the whole season.
Multiply that by 3 for like what you would want to do in terms of preparation.
Right, yeah. And maybe more than that. Going to matches, training. So it would be a very taxing year, and I need things to align in my life like by the first quarter of next year for me to be able to say yes to that.
So your answer today would be no.
My answer today would be no. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Same as Jeremy.
Yeah. Even if Jeremy had said yes today, I'm not sure I could say yes today. Yeah.
It's a huge financial commitment. I think USPSA, by making the team, we should get a slot paid for. So the match fee should be covered. I don't know that we will get hardly any more support than that. Maybe $500. I think that's what the team members got in Thailand. I'm not. That was what we were, because I made that team but didn't go. But that was what we were originally, when the match was supposed to be in 2020. Is that right? Yeah, when the match was supposed to be 2020, that was what our original agreement was $500. I don't know what it ended up being later on. So yeah, I don't know if they will give any money besides a slot. So, but even if they do, even if it's $500, I'm not poo-pooing that, but that doesn't like make it inexpensive, right? That doesn't really move the needle as far as the actual expense of going a whole lot. Not saying it wouldn't be appreciated. I mean, every dollar would be appreciated. I don't mean to say that and sound ungrateful for anything that USPSA would support in that manner. But yeah, and I think that, the thing is, Jeff and I would both go there thinking, hey, we can win this match. I mean, and I don't say that to be arrogant, but given the field that I think will be of people I know that would be shooting single stack, we would go there with the thought process that if we prayer correctly, we can win the match. And I mean, that would be cool, and that'd be fun. It'd be fun to push each other through the year and at that match and support each other as well. That'd be great. But yeah, like I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to know. The other consideration that Katie and I were actually talking about, that my wife and I were talking about that earlier tonight, is that, I mean, I'll be 40 in February. The World Shoots now only every 4 years, right? So you start looking at that not being every 3 years. The next one I'll be 44. Like, there's only I only have a couple more that I could even think to qualify in anyway, like for the future, as far as like a main slot. And certainly being very competitive, that's somewhat just realistic. My eyes haven't gone yet, but that's coming soon. In an iron sight division, that's coming soon. And so, yeah, so like that somewhat weighs into you. It's like, okay, this is an opportunity that, do you want to let that slip by for money's sake?
Well, and I think you let the 2020 that became 2021 became 2022 slip by for a lot of good reasons, and that made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But this is kind of your last at least for Classic. And if you move to a different division, it's only more competitive.
It's hard.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's not insulting. It's harder.
Yeah. I'm not ripping on anybody, but it's like, if this is a thing you do want to do, and it's cool if you don't, but this is probably your time to do it.
Right.
What a great jumping off point to be in for the next few months.
Yeah, it's tough. And then add on that, like I'm in a place where I don't necessarily need my next quarter to be big. I need a really good next year. I'm looking to add on to my shop. Really want to do that next year, and so that, with more classes, with more stuff, adding on to the business, how much can we bite off, and then where do we put our priorities? And it's just, those are the things that I'm trying to weigh out. And I also look, part of me, I should be deer hunting right now. I should be in Idaho on a deer hunt right now, but I've got class coming up. Tato talked about that in last podcast. I have a class coming up. I just don't have time. I have too much to get done before that. But like, I could pay for a really pretty top level elk or mule deer hunt with the money it would cost to go to South Africa, right? Like, so when we start talking about, okay, what would you rather do? Would you rather go to South Africa and shoot what might be a really crappy match, or go on a once in a lifetime elk mule deer hunt and and spend your time that way.
You already did that on the cheap, which is honestly so much cooler. Like people who go on these things, they can hate me all they like, but we have moose hunting where I live.
Yeah.
And the guys who splash 6 or 8K to go and have a moose hunt where somebody has already scouted the moose for them, it's like they're going moose camping. And then like the person's pointing to the moose and they're shooting it, and then they're doing all the hard work after that. It's like, good. Like if you've got that money and you want that experience, I mean, how many moose do you get to shoot? Good for you. But you did it the hard way. You took your like college chaplain. Yeah. And then you guys like walked for miles and miles and miles and miles, and you got on high things and you tried to spot them. If you had gotten one, that would have been like the story for the ages. If you go on like a nice paid hunt, I don't know if it's going to feel as good.
Well, and I'm not necessarily talking about
I would go fishing.
A guided hunt.
I would go on an epic fishing trip.
Yeah, that's like I could go pay for a tarpon.
Take your son to Alaska. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I could go bone fishing and fishing in the salt for 5 days with a guide, which that would be once in a lifetime. I'm talking on the hunt side. I'm talking more like some of the tags, like just to get access to the tags, cost $3,000-$4,000 to get access. That doesn't give you a guide at the same time. That just gives you access to the tag and access to hunting. Yeah, a guided elk hunt, for a good one, you're 10-15 grand at least, which is crazy. Yeah,
that's enough to cover Jeff going to South Africa too.
Right. But yeah, like you start looking at like other trips that you could take, and so okay, is the intrinsic value of shooting a match, does that equal another trip? And I don't know. I struggle with the answer to that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the World Shoot slot. I hope I don't sound whiny. I'm not trying to sound whiny at all. I'm proud to have.
Jeremy? What is this thing lately where you're worried about how you sound? I just
don't want to sound whiny. I just don't want to sound whiny.
Did someone criticize you whose perspective you value, and now like you are ruminating on this? Because you apologize a lot for things that old Jeremy would just like push right on through.
Oh no, like, that's
suck it up, Buttercup. That's the tone today. All right.
The only person that at least criticizes to me is the person looking in the mirror. So that's probably just more of my own internal.
He must have been especially harsh lately.
Maybe so. I will say, like, the last couple weeks have been incredibly stressful for not work stuff. I mean, yeah, the class is coming up, but other outside stuff has been nutty lately, and so the stress level's been high from that.
Yeah, life likes to do that to you sometimes, doesn't it?
It does, and it's not fun, but it's just freaking life. So you deal with it.
Yeah, it'll pass.
But that does lead into, okay, what is the future of the podcast, and which we're going in, but I want to leave it open as far as if Jeff has anything more he wants to say about like World Shoot Spot or anything like that.
No, I mean, I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't really want to go alone. Like, it's not an adventure I want to take alone, right?
Yeah, right.
And yeah, and like I said, I need some assets to move and some stars to align by the first part of next year for me to be able to say yes to that. So,
hey,
totally unrelated. If anyone's looking for a lake house in Oklahoma,
yes,
I can put you in touch with a realtor.
They might have pets. It might have pets, but pets are cool.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with pets.
Yeah.
Okay, so this leads into, okay, where's the podcast going? And Jeff and Potato making fun of me for apologizing. Yeah, that's probably cringy too. People don't want to listen to that. But
We
Who
can go
cares
deeper.
what? Yeah, Jeremy, who cares what people think?
Well,
Who cares how crazy it is?
Who cares?
I'm making it worse. I'm sorry. I'm making it worse.
I'm sorry for apologizing so much. Man, who is this Canadian who's infiltrated
Oh, jeez, it's so bad.
Texas Panhandle?
It's so bad. What I will say is a little bit where I hope the podcast goes, where I would really like to see it go, is I loved what Tyler and Jay and Potato did last week. I would love if we could expand the podcast to 6 or 7 kind of quote unquote regulars, but maybe except for rare occasions, it's only ever a couple, 2 or 3 of those combination of people on at a time, such that it ends up being, we post weekly content, but one guy may only record once a month, or if he wants to record every week, he can be on every week. But then we also end up with different pairings. So it might be me and Tyler, and then it might be Jeff and Tyler, which totally going to be totally different interactions. And I think that could be really cool that we can see the hit. We've built a little bit of a platform here, which is cool. And the following we get when people come and talk to us, I mean, I love it. Like I'm fairly humbled by it when people want to come and say, hey, like, we listen to you, we like it, and that's great. I feel bad because lots of people come do it and then they come talk to us again at the next match, and I forgot that they talked to us at the match before, and I don't remember their names, and I feel terrible about that, but that's just is. But what I will say is I'm at a little bit of a point with the podcast where I feel like my voice is just a little old and tired. Like, as far as like just what I have to say, my opinions on stuff, like I don't know what new stuff Jeff and I can hash out when we talk about shooting, or if I'm talking about my shooting, right? I've pretty much said almost everything I can say about my shooting. At
You
least
guys
that's my
ruined
sense
this
of it.
by becoming good friends, and then the few matches you do go to, you stay together and you travel together. Really. So this dynamic, before you guys were good friends, this was the place where you had those conversations.
Right.
Now you're having those conversations like as you cook steaks or whatever at your Airbnb. And so it feels very forced and like an affect to then go and record like the echo of that conversation you've already had. I don't think you guys have run out of things to say, even about shooting. I think you've already said them. So you're bored thinking about it. And I think this is why Jeff has run through so many co-hosts over the course of another
his unapproachability
cast. Well, no, I mean, Jeff is like a founding. Yeah, it's like the founding member of the band, but he's like the bassist or something, so you don't even notice, right? It's like, hey, how come the only original guy left in the band is the bassist? And it's not the lead singer, it's not the drummer, it's just the guy over there giving those.
Yeah, and you're 100% right in that we have so many conversations when we're driving to matches. Again, when we're having dinner or cooking and we're just chilling, it's like, man, if we had recorded that would have been an awesome podcast. But you can't replicate it. Like, you can't go back and do it again. And so, that you're right in that does make it a challenge. But I think if we had new people in, like me bouncing stuff off Tyler or me bouncing stuff off Jay, like I think there's gonna be more. This will be fresher. I think.
I think Jeff should talk to Jedediah Morgan.
Yeah,
bring back Jed.
I like Jed.
Jed just shot a great match in Georgia State the other week. He walked off that match and he texted me and he said, name the other people he's shooting against are going to have to shoot a heck of a match to beat me. And one of them did, which feels awful, like for Jed, not to me. But what a cool feeling. Like, when was the last time you walked off a match and you're like, so-and-so is going to have a great day to beat me.
Yeah. No, that I don't know what that feels like.
So it's like Jeff knows what that feels like, so he should talk to Jed about it.
Yeah.
Do need to have Jed on again.
Yes. So like that's where I would like to see, just me personally, that's where I would like to see the podcast go. And not that Jeff and I wouldn't still be mainstays and still be on maybe more than anybody else is, but having a more rotational cast of guys. And I haven't spoken with Jay and Tyler. Those would be the two that first come to mind, and Potato as well. Those would be like the first two to my mind that are really, they're good at being conversational about shooting, and they're also really phenomenal shooters, much better shooter than I am. So yeah, I would love it if they would want to. I don't know what their time constraints look like and if they'd be willing to or not. Jay visits lots of other podcasts, so he may not want to have a more consistent stay. I just don't know. But it's out there now, and so I've kind of put him on the spot, and so that's good.
JClay94 on Instagram, just DM him nonstop and be like, "Hey, I heard you're taking over the Hit Factor. Do it.
Yes,
he'll really appreciate that.
Yeah,
just send him.
More DMs, and then ask him about how to modify Walters, to get them shooting extra flat.
Oh, has he got some special tricks?
Oh, I'm sure.
I bet he
just
does.
Make sure you ask him, even if you don't have a Walther. Just ask him.
Ask him how to make it shoot flatter. Got it. Messaging him now. So the other thing, yes, I share this vision with Jeremy on this idea where we have more hosts coming in, for two reasons, really, like to get fresh perspectives, fresh ideas, which I like, and then the other thing is to try to achieve more consistency, which I know the community wants, right? The community wants that. So I would like both those things. If we can pull it off, then we will. The other things, production wise, that are going to be changing is I'm going to be doing less of stitching this together. The one that the guys did last week, I thought this Riverside studio did a pretty good job of just like leveling that out, and we just pushed it out. So I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna, I don't know why this one didn't go live on YouTube. It's like pending. I'm guessing it'll launch when we're done, but I wanted it to be live there, and this should just be a live podcast now. It'll be live, and then we'll push it out, and everybody can listen to it. But every week it'll be live, and that'll be the show. And there'll be essentially no changes. There'll be no ads. There'll be no show sponsors. I'm not messing with any of that anymore. The Discord is going to open up. It'll be free. Everybody can join.
What?
So, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Where are you going to get all your money? How are you going to pay for these lake houses?
Not with $2 Patreon subs.
Man.
Yeah, so we're gonna open up the Discord.
Can we name check Marcel Engelmeyer? Come back to the Discord. This one's for you.
Yeah, he was on the YouTube channel moaning about it, but yeah. So I think it'd be good to open it up. The only caveat is I'm not gonna post an invite link anywhere. So if you want in, you gotta ask somebody, or you have to find a link from somebody that knows somebody. So we'll change the permissions. People can create invites. I'm not going to do it. Don't message me.
It's like a speakeasy.
Yeah, you got to know somebody.
Yeah.
That's it. Word will get around pretty quick. But so yeah, that's kind of the changes we're thinking of implementing in the future. That we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it could be really cool to have other guys that just a bigger rotating cast. I think that could end up being a really cool podcast that people find more intriguing than just Jeff and I sitting down for a conversation. What it does also, part of the reason why Jeff and I didn't record a whole lot this year is we simply weren't training and we weren't shooting much this year. And I don't know how other people are, but I know myself, if I'm not actively involved in something, my interests go elsewhere. And because I'm thinking about other stuff, I'm doing other stuff. And so he and I both we were going months at a time without practicing or obviously shooting matches or doing anything. And so it was really tough to not be training, not be thinking about shooting at all, and then come in and go record a podcast about it. It's like, well, I haven't thought about shooting since last week when we talked about it, and I haven't thought about it since then, so I don't have anything new to say. We have enough people that there will almost always, Potato's always training, but we'll almost always have somebody that's training and has been to a match recently or something like that, has something to talk about, which I think will be good. We can also bring in some more, if we can get Jay and Tyler, we can bring in some more horticulture talk into the podcast. What I think is, I'm all for that.
Yeah. I think people enjoy the off-topic talks more than you think they do. They
might.
Yeah,
let us know if you're still listening. Let us know what you think about the off-topic chats.
Like, I think people enjoy it when you really get into like the nitty-gritty of training and like struggles and epiphanies and all that. And then I think they like off-topic stuff. And the rest of it is just kind of white noise, I think.
Yeah,
that's my
could be. Could be. So speaking of off-topic, unless you have anything, do you have anything else to say about the podcast? Potato, where do you think we should take the podcast? Is this a good idea, bad idea?
Oh, I think it's a great idea. I mean, all of the people you mentioned are people who I want to hear from. I still want to hear from you guys once you start shooting again. Right? Like when shooting is like a little bit closer to the center of your lives, you'll have more things to say about it. And maybe that's next year and maybe that's not. I'm starved for shooting content. Like the off-topic stuff is great, but I'm starved for shooting content. So if you have like a rotating guest host taking over Hit Factor, I'll be listening.
Yeah, I think we'll actually probably increase our listenership quite a bit by doing that, because I just think that'd be cool. Meat Eater kind of does that. I don't know how many. I'm sure lots of people are very familiar with Meat Eater, but they have their Meat Eater umbrella, and they have tons of different podcasts that fall under that Meat Eater umbrella, and they all get together and conglomerate on one. But then they also all have kind of their own individual. Obviously, we're not Meat Eater. We're not going that big. Our audience isn't that big.
Yeah,
but I like that. I really like that concept. It's pretty neat, and that, like, I would love to hear like a Tyler Turner interview with I'd love to hear Tyler Turner interview JJ, right? Like, I mean, Tyler's incredibly cerebral, and trying to pick through JJ's brain. And the other positive of this is, I mean, we know Jeff's super unapproachable, and then I tend to just piss people off a lot of times. So if we have
all the people who won't talk to you two guys might talk to Tyler.
Exactly.
There's a lot of good shooters who are like, oh man, it's Hit Factor. Like, leave them on red.
Right. Or maybe, for example, a couple of people that Jeremy like burned some bridges with.
I don't know what
someone else could. Maybe someone else could talk to him.
That could be great. That could be awesome. I mean, I may still hold some veto power on some of that. I don't know. We'll see.
Jeez.
But okay. That's enough for the podcast. Off topic now. Jeff and I, since we've been back from nationals, our buddy U92 has he's been on this carnivore diet. Brett's been on a carnivore diet for a long time, and he had an organ cut out of him as soon as we got back from nationals. So he's recovered fine. He's doing all right, but he had a rough go of it for a little bit. But he's been on this carnivore kick, and he convinced us to do it. And So basically, the day we got back from nationals, we both started it. I'm doing it with my wife, mostly in solidarity with my wife, and so we've basically just been eating meat and water. I've been having milk. I did not cut out bourbon, so I just didn't. That was just a rule that I said, okay, I'll do carnivore, but I'm still going to drink bourbon. And I am still seasoning meat as I normally would season it. So I'm using garlic powder, onion powder, stuff like that, just like I normally would.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting. How has carnivore been for you, Jeff?
Dude, I've really, really enjoyed eating this way. It's kind of opened my eyes a little bit as to some of my eating habits, things that I do.
Really?
Yeah.
You've never heard about some of those being bad.
I mean, I've heard of it. You just don't realize like how much of an addiction you have. Until
what's been the
right
biggest one?
Well, maybe you don't. Anyone who has seen you eat realizes exactly how much of an addiction you have. You polish off donuts with pints of ice cream. Like, I've watched this. Like, you have ice cream chasers for ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah,
so true.
Exactly. So, like, it is honestly astounding that I'm not massive. I'm not massively overweight. Yeah, so it's just been helpful for that. Kind of realizing that the cravings are pretty intense, but I'm looking forward. Like, I'm gonna do it until those cravings are not as intense. That's my plan.
What's the most intense craving you've had?
Most intense?
Yeah, like what have you wanted the most? Is it energy drinks?
Probably, yeah. Probably sweet drinks. That would probably be it.
So Mountain Dew or Monster? If you were gonna cave, which one would you grab?
I would get an energy drink of some kind. Yeah. Probably a Celsius or an Alani. Probably the Alani Cherry. Yeah. That one, yeah, that was pretty good. But it's been awesome. Yeah. I mean, for the first like 3 weeks, it kind of sucks. Like the energy really sucks, not having any carbohydrates.
Yeah.
But then it started picking up, and I've had some really great workouts, and I've been able to run. And so things are getting a lot better, and yeah, just getting those cravings under control. I mean, I am losing weight on it, but I feel like that's only like half of what I'm gaining by doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's true. Did you cut out coffee, or are you still drinking coffee?
I'm still drinking coffee.
Okay.
Black coffee.
Yeah. I drink Princess coffee.
It has been a whole nother thing that I've like took a deep dive into and just like listened to a lot of people talking about it and talking about like carbohydrates and not eating carbohydrates. And I'm not like demonizing carbohydrates. It's just been educational, like hearing people talk about carbohydrates and the relationship to insulin. And there's a guy on YouTube, Nick Norwitz. He has a really interesting YouTube channel where he talks about metabolic health and nutrition and basically living in a state of ketosis. And he talks about like these blood lipid panels of people that don't eat carbohydrates. And there's just a lot of interesting research. It's been really fascinating. So it makes me want to keep doing it because I kind of feel like I'm part of a research project, which I think is fun. Yeah.
Where you don't give anybody your data, but you retain it all for yourself.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm going to do blood work, right?
Well, you were part of a research project before, too, right? It's like, how long can this guy be maintained on aspartame and
just the same research project that 350 million Americans are on at the same time?
Right. It's like, how long can I do this
without
becoming diabetic,
Yeah.
Not very long. My diabetes
Yeah,
I earned.
I-
Zero family history.
Right.
And that's where I would have been. I honestly, I wonder what my insulin resistance was looking like. My only saving
You
grace
never
is I
got
do
A1C?
like.
You never got A1C checked?
No, I don't think so. And I
Okay.
do fast a lot, so like it's pretty regular that I don't eat for like 16 hours every single day. So that definitely helps with insulin sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, ever since I was a little kid, and I was thinking about this today, and we're gonna make this a long one, I guess. But ever since I was a little kid, I remember like wanting to eat more Snickers. This is so bad. And I'd be like, my parents would let me get like one candy bar at the store. And I remember thinking like, dude, when I make my own money, I'm going to buy that whole damn box of candy bars. I'm going to eat it. And lo and behold, that is what I have done as an adult, right? Like I buy and eat the whole bag of Oreos, So yeah, it's been a very reflective experience to look back at my life. I literally have flashbacks of all my like binges. Like y'all have no idea, dude. Yeah. It's been really fascinating.
It's great. I mean,
Dude,
I love
the
to hear it
extent of your
because-
disordered eating is awesome. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, I mean, I love to hear it. I like when people are healthy, and it's like Jeff has been this guy who works out a lot, but he's not healthy, right? Like he puts the time in working out. Usually, he didn't a whole lot this year, but usually he does. But like he's pounding monsters and eating whole cases of Oreos at a time, and it's like, dude, this is not good. And so I think it's great. I love it. I haven't really gone into the research. I really haven't. I mean, I've probably lost a couple pounds, but I don't have a ton of weight to shed. I'm just kind of a skinny guy. Because Jeff was asking me, I don't know if it was today or yesterday. He's asking me like, do you ever binge stuff? Like honestly, no. Because I can't remember. I think it was whenever you and I went. You were here, and we went to the corner cafe, that burger place, and got a hamburger. And we had been outside. We'd been training. I was thirsty, and so I got a fountain drink because it comes with the meal, right? And I fill it up with Dr. Pepper, and I think I filled that thing up 3 times. And dude, I felt terrible that entire afternoon, just from those Dr. Peppers, like just from drinking that Dr. Pepper. So I just don't do that. Like I don't drink like sweet drinks like that in volume. And yeah, so I don't like to binge on stuff because it makes me feel bad.
Oh, the feeling terrible. I promise you, Jeff can relate to feeling terrible when he binges. Like, absolutely terrible. Like, completely hollow on the inside. Like, life has no meaning. Crushing despair. It's just not a bad enough feeling to prevent the next binge. Like, they're just totally, the cause and effect
so like,
don't live in the moment when the Snickers are in front of you.
But my binges weren't like, they were not like involuntary binging. It's like, I'm going to do this. And the only pain is the actual physical pain from the binge, right? Like, honestly, like I
like how you feel like you're in control when you get in your car and drive to the convenience store to buy a bunch of garbage.
Right.
I decided this. I'm in control. Every one of these rocks I smoke, I decide.
That's right.
But there's not
I'm the captain.
There's not really like a psychological like regret. It's more like
maybe there's the difference in the two of us.
Yeah.
But there's probably a physical regret, like you feel physically ill, and
physically, yeah. I mean, at a certain point, yes, the body does give in. But I think because I didn't like think of it as an addiction per se, that there wasn't like a psychological feeling of regret when I did it, because I didn't ever view it as an addiction, right?
But
Yeah,
you
you just
never
ignored that
denied
part.
yourself it either, right?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Like, isn't what's
I mean,
kind of fun about this current experience
what?
is right now you're denying yourself. Right now you're denying yourself. And
Right.
so now you're getting sort of more perspective on it. If you
Mhm.
never went for very long without denying yourself, then you sort of are starved of that perspective.
Right. Yeah. hmm Yeah. So it has been really, really fascinating in that sense. Like I've gone 4 weeks, probably longer than that, without really like eating a whole lot of sugar and stuff. But I don't know. It just feels different this time because I've had like nothing sweet, like nothing with sugar in it for 4 weeks. I don't know.
Yeah, not
It
even
feels.
fruit or anything like that.
And actually, it's actually probably because I haven't had any carbohydrates, right? Like I've probably had 50 carbs, like trace amounts of carbs in the last 4 weeks or something like that. So I think maybe that's the difference. It just feels way different this time than what I've done in the past. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. I didn't dive into like research on it. It's been really really good for my wife. She's lost quite a bit of weight on it. She loves Dr. Pepper, and literally like in her life, this is the longest she's ever gone without drinking Dr. Pepper, right? And she doesn't necessarily binge on huge quantities always, but she's always has a Dr. Pepper,
yeah.
and now she's really like she had a really violent reaction about 3 days in. She had a pretty violent reaction to it, like really nauseous, really like.
Yeah.
But then once she got past that, like she has felt so much better. Everything just feels a whole lot better, and it kind of opened her eyes. She's kind of had a similar experience to Jeff. Her and Jeff, when Jeff come visit, it's like all the trash food that Katie wants to eat is the same trash food that Jeff wants to eat. Like, cause like, but anyways, like it's been an eye opener for her very much. Like, okay, all this stuff that I'm wanting to eat is really like it's really kind of just terrible. Like it's not good for my health. It's not good for my long-term health or even mental health. I think there's a big mental aspect side of it too. For me, the cool thing is like when we first started, it's like, man, I want brownies and ice cream. Like I want brownies and ice cream, and that like I really crave that. And tonight I'm eating my steak because we get to eat all the steak we want, which is awesome. But I'm eating that. I'm like, man, it'd be really nice just to have a salad, like with a nice salad with like a vinaigrette dressing, not like ranch, but like a nice oil and vinegar type dressing, and just a glass of wine. Like that would be really nice. And so like somewhat like, and maybe just a fresh apple. Like it's almost like my cravings are I'm starting to want more healthy things, and it's going away from.
That's
I
fascinating.
really want that ice cream. I want the brownie. It's more like I kind of want this other stuff. Like I want fruit, and I want fresh fruit, and I want some fresh vegetables, almost
yeah.
more than I want like ice cream and sweets and pie and cake.
So when are you going to listen to that?
So I mean, it's 40 days. I think we have like a weekend. We have like 10 days left probably. And that's really going to be the fascinating question is how do we move forward such that we don't just fall back, so that this isn't just a fad diet, but it's more of a jump start into healthier decisions. I generally make
making that apple the thing you crave,
food decisions,
right? Like so
yeah.
the apple becomes like the treat you crave, and not even trying a Hostess cupcake because A Hostess cupcake is designed by scientists in a lab to trick you.
Yeah.
I mean, like, really, to trick you to want it more than an apple. Right? Like, this is 120 years of food science to, like, hijack all of your body's machinery and eat more Hostess cupcakes. Right? Everything about it is, like, tailored to manipulate you. Like, nothing in it resembles food that your body used for a couple million years.
Yeah, and a Hostess cupcake sounds absolutely awful right now. But so the thing for me is with carnivore is it's just boring. Like it's very simple, and that's good. Like from a diet perspective, it's very simple. It's not hard to figure out. I can eat this. I can't eat this. So you go to the store. It's like, okay, I can only buy this stuff because this is all I can eat. So from that standpoint, it's very simple. I haven't been out to eat once since we started it, so that makes it easy too. But like it's just boring, and I don't want to just eat meat for the rest of my life. So because I like to cook and I like to enjoy good food, and so we're gonna have to set some sort of rules. I think for us, at least going forward, it's gonna be okay. We can have like one dessert a week, and that's fine. And I don't think that's going to be a massively detrimental, as long as we can stay disciplined and not start cheating and adding in. Because for me, I'll snack my sweets. Like I'll grab Halloween candy right throughout the day, and I'll have a couple. I'll never eat like a big thing, but I'll do that. So yeah, I don't totally know what it's going to look like going forward, but other than we're just going to try to keep. We're not just going whole hog, and I'm not adding a bunch of carbs once we go in. Our other plan is my wife likes to bake a lot. I mean, she doesn't bake a lot, but she does like to bake. She bakes quite a bit more now than she ever has. So I shouldn't say, for some people she bakes a ton. For some people she doesn't bake a lot. But it's going to be our goal that we don't buy any sort of bread of any kind. Any sort of bread or anything like that we eat will be homemade. And if we don't make it ourselves, then we won't eat it. And so I think that'll limit how much we do, because we won't want to make it all the time. But then it'll also limit it. You look at, dude, if you go buy a loaf of bread at the store, the amount of crap that's in that is insane. Like there are just massive amounts of junk and really detrimental stuff, and just like preservatives and stuff in loaves of bread that we buy. And we're going to find out, so I think some pretty disturbing mental side effects and probably cancer side effects along with that. And so plus homemade bread's just way better.
It is good.
It's just way better. Good. It's so good. So I think that's going to be a rule that we're going to try to adhere to. We can have bread, but it needs to be homemade if we're going to eat it.
I like it. Homemade bread is awesome.
Yeah. It's been good. I've talked about it on the podcast before. I had like a 6-month hiatus of working out at all the first half of this year. And I started kind of working out again, and it's not been a good year from a workout standpoint for me, but I showed Jeff and Brett. I took a picture before I started working out again, and I took a picture of that, and oof, it's so bad. I showed it to Jeff and Brett on the Nationals trip, and then I showed him a picture. I've done the carnivore once before in February of 2022, and I took a picture at the end of that, and it's disturbing. It's disturbing how the difference between those two pictures. So that was a big motivator of taking a picture of my fat slob self. Skinny fat is what I was. I was skinny fat with zero muscle definition anywhere. And
come join us on Team Fat Fat.
Yeah,
it's like skinny fat without the skinny.
Right.
It's like I'm a chocoholic for booze.
Right. Oh man, that has been tough. So with this carnivore, like we went dove season's still going. There's no birds left. But when we started, I went hunting, and normally I like to have a Dos Equis while I'm cleaning birds, just sitting outside. And it just makes it more enjoyable. And I had to just sit there and drink water while I was cleaning birds this time, and that was heartbreaking. So yeah, I encourage anybody to do the carnivore if you're wanting to kickstart some health. If you're dealing with any sort of like chronic pains, chronic issues, and things like that. Sounds like the chat's firing up if you guys are paying attention to that. Chronic pains and chronic things like that, then look into the carnivore. I know for Brett, it had massive positives for him.
Right.
From he's been tough on his body through his career.
And that was the thing that made me want to try it. Like, I've dieted before. Like, I know how to lose weight if I need to lose weight. But I have had severe allergies since I was a little kid. I was like, well, I've never tried an elimination diet, essentially. So let's try that. Let's just eat animal products, meat, butter, and eggs. And so try that. And, it hasn't fixed my allergies. I kind of think it would be better if I like went even deeper and just beef. Like if I just did beef, I think that would be interesting, but I don't know if I want to try that just yet. But
yeah,
it has helped. Like just cutting out dairy and bread, honestly, I think are the things that I think affected me. But like I've been able to breathe out of my nose since we got back from nationals pretty consistently. And that is not something that has ever been consistent in my life, being able to breathe through my nose. So it has helped, but I still have allergies,
cool.
so I'm not cured. But yeah.
It's not a cure-all, but I do think it's a lot of people could benefit a lot from doing it, even if it's a 40-day deal, and see what kind of benefits you get. Kind of reset where you're at with your food and your cravings and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Before there was the carnivore diet a long time ago, this is like 15 years ago, I did all like medium chain triglycerides, essentially. So just eating coffee and coconut oil and butter.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty amazing. And then like after a few days, like your energy levels normalize. And so, I used to go, everything in life changes so many times. So I used to be up early in the morning, which I no longer am. I used to go to the Y and like work out, and I would blend butter and oil and coffee into like this sort of, because they separate, right? But into this slurry, like in a, and I'd be sitting there, 5 a.m. at the Y, lifting weights and drinking my butter coffee.
That sounds awful.
Honestly, it simplified it. It was like, hey, what am I consuming? Oh, I'm consuming these fats. What else can I have with them? I can have coffee with them in the morning. And then I cut off the coffee at noon, but continue to eat like the fat-based shakes and protein. Where'd the
protein
completely
come from?
Simplified it. Protein powder.
Oh, okay.
Whey protein.
Okay.
Yeah, so whey protein. I mean, again, short term, and your body equalizes, right? Like it figures out what you're doing, and after a while, it's like you end up having pretty constant energy levels, like the fewer peaks and valleys. But it was super boring. Like just like as a sensory experience, it's like, okay, I've done this for a month. Now my body's done. Like give me back spice and flavor. And
right. The cool thing it does is your body starts, and you mentally start just viewing food as fuel, not as entertainment. And there's a certain point where we need to get back to that as a culture, that hey, food, its main source is fuel. And here's the other cool thing about carnivore diet that Katie and I both experienced. I'm not sure if Jeff has experienced it exactly, but like you can eat as much as you want on carnivore. Like that's kind of the deal. Like, hey, eat as much as you want. We don't care how much you eat, but it's only animal products. And But what we found out is that like we'd be eating steak or whatever it was, hamburger or whatever, and we would be eating it, chicken, and we would just get to a point and it's like we're done. Like we're full, and our bodies would react in such a way that was almost, if I eat anymore, I'm going to be sick. Like I'm going to want to throw up. And so then you would just stop eating. Whereas normally we would eat that much meat. I would normally eat that big a steak, but then I would add in a roll and I would add in ice cream and I would add in all this other stuff into it. But the body's regulation on like how much food it wanted changed drastically. Like it wants less food because it's like, I don't need any more fuel. I'm good. I'm topped off. So that was pretty fascinating to experience that. I don't know if Jeff, if you experienced similar or not.
Oh, for sure. And it's just like, you just be eating and you don't even, I don't feel like I even eat that much, dude. You just eat and then it's like, my body's not hungry anymore. This, just put this food away.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. I've enjoyed the experiment, and I'll just add things back in slowly. Like it'll be a mango or something like that.
Jeff loves his mango. Is it gonna be a mango or is it gonna be a bag of dried mangoes?
No, dude, you saw me put away 2 full bags of those.
I know, you can't stop yourself.
That 5-pound Kirkland bag of dried mangoes,
bro.
I literally won't let it into the house. Right, my father-in-law will be like, "Oh, we came to Costco. It's like, here's this." It's like, no, take it away because I'm just going to eat this until it's gone.
Yeah,
it is its own reward.
I'll eat the whole thing, dude.
Absolutely, I will eat 5 pounds of dried mangoes in the space of 36 hours.
Oh
no
my
problem,
dude.
It's so easy.
Natural Grocers has one. I had it at Nationals and I didn't get to finish it because we started carnivore when we got home, so I had to end up throwing up a third of the bag away because I won't sit and eat a whole bag of something like that. I just won't do it. But they have one that's a lime chili mango. It's no artificial. There's no sugar added to it. It's just mango, lime, and chili. And holy cow, it's incredible. I'll probably go get some of those whenever we're done with this because those were good. That'll be a good snack. But yeah, it'll be interesting. So, all right, man, that was a good podcast, and let us know if you guys have somebody else that you think we should add into the podcast rotation as kind of not somebody for us to interview, but somebody to be on. Let us know.
Ken Hackathorn.
Great suggestion. I'm sure he would have a lot to say. But
and I'm not sure what's going on with the putting this out live. I guess Riverside changed some stuff. It was streaming to YouTube really well before. I'm not sure what's going on now, but we'll get that sorted out. And pretty much what you see here, it'll stay live on YouTube, though this one looks like it's garbage because Potato's not even in it. And then we'll just
it's dramatically improved. Depends on how you look at it.
Well, there's the parts where you're talking and Jeremy and I are just staring at each other.
Great.
Yeah. So
I can tell this podcast is going places.
Yeah. We got some stuff to figure out, but yeah. Changes to be made, but simplified, so don't expect the super high-end audio editing that I have been doing. I know you've all been impressed, but
it's true.
It's about to get worse, so. But Riverside's
now, if that
not that
bugs
bad.
you, if the production value bugs you,
don't even try, Jeremy.
You want to do it better, then we are taking on producers if there's somebody who wants to produce the show. It'd be a great resume builder. Can't pay you anything because Jeff's not going to take any more Patreon money. But just throw that out there.
I mean, we
We're
have
gonna
a
go
little
get
money. We could do like an internship.
No, but we're gonna buy some whiskey with that.
Oh, okay. Never mind. No
Duh.
money.
No, there's no money left.
All right, Jeremy, finish it off.
All right, let's break it like a biscuit.
Nope. And you guys are still recording right now. It shows live recording on my screen. Oh no, is it recording in a separate track? Yeah, my upload is frozen and it shows us it's still recording. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, it is frozen. I cut out for 20 seconds so I could go downstairs and pee. I am a Zoom veteran. I survived COVID. You hit mute, you turn off the camera, and then you leave the room. And then you wait till you're in your chair before you unmute and turn on the camera. I wish mine did more. There was a job in my field that pays less than what I make, but it was fully remote. Just talking to my wife, and I was like, I don't know. I could be home when the kids come home from school. The dogs would love it. She's like, well, how much less is it? You know, I told her, and she goes, is that coming out of your recreation budget? Like, okay, I'll keep working where I work. Fine. It's a fair question. But it was like I could be full remote. I could just sit at home and I would get the job just in my field. Like it'd be a lateral step down. They'd be like, "Oh, great, we want one of those." And it's for, not really. I mean, I just don't have that kind of hustle in me to work a full-time job and then work outside of it. Yeah, but those extra hours, I would like take the dogs for a walk and dry fire. Really, not like take on side work because it feels like I'm stealing if I take on side work. It just feels like I'm living if I walk the dogs. It's actually getting worse. It says I'm still recording, and the upload percentage is going down. No, because I am not the host. I am a guest. There is still an audio track that I'm currently recording, yes. Leave.